Hi, it's Devotions with Jan, and I am going to read you a new favorite scripture. And this is from Exodus. Imagine that. Found scripture, and it's more than one verse. It's actually a passage. It is Exodus 2. I'm going to start at the end of Exodus 2 and then go into the beginning of Exodus 3. And it says, during those many days, the king of Egypt died, and the people of Israel groaned because of their slavery and cried out for help. Their cry for rescue from slavery came up to God, and God heard their groaning. And God remembered his covenant with Abraham and Isaac and with Jacob. God saw the people of Israel, and God knew. Exodus 3 then says, Now Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, and he led his flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. He looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. And Moses said, I will turn aside to see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. Then he said, Do not come near. Take your sandals off of your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground. And he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and I have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And it goes on to say where all these people live. And now, behold, the cry of the people of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppress them. Come, I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And then I'm not going to read you the rest of the story. I wanted you to hear, and maybe you heard it as I read it, but have you noticed, I'd never seen this before, and it is now one of my favorite scriptures. And the reason that it is because God repeated something twice. A number of things he actually repeated twice in this passage. And when God repeated something in scripture, when something was repeated in scripture, it was for emphasis. It was to say, this is really true, or this is really like holy, holy, holy. He is really, really holy. It means it is like, this is super important. I want you to know this. It's kind of like us saying, really, really, or listen, listen. This is what God is saying. And did you hear the words that were repeated? Verse 24 says, and God heard their groaning. God saw the people of Israel, and God knew. And then he says in chapter 3, verse 7, I have surely seen the affliction of my people. I have heard their cry because of their taskmasters, and I know their sufferings. He also said in the top one, and I remembered the covenant that I had with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob about these people. And here it says, I have come down to deliver them. A couple of interesting things here. Okay? The words that were repeated were God heard, God saw, and God knew. Now, he did it in different order the second time, but it's still the same words. I have seen, I have heard, and I know. as I read those words, I was just so in awe that the God who is the creator of the universe sees me, he hears me, and he knows me. He knows what's going on in my life. He sees it all. He hears it. He hears my cries. This is not some God that is so far removed that he cannot comprehend what is going on with us. In fact, Jesus came to this earth so that he actually would completely understand what it was like to be in a human body, and what it was like to live as we live and to be tempted as we are tempted. God saw his people. God was not, in fact, one translation says, I am aware. Another one says God knew it was time to act, which kind of goes to the other point that I wanted to bring out. It says up here, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and Jacob. Now, they had been in slavery now for a few years, and God remembered, not that he had forgotten. When the word remembered, and I just read this week, or just heard this in the last few weeks, a couple of weeks, that when it says that God remembered something, usually it's remembering a promise or the covenant that he had made, or it is not saying that he had forgotten it. It is said, okay, now I'm going to act in accordance with what I have promised. And that's exactly what it says down here. And I have come down to deliver them. And basically, I'm going to send you to do it. But I have decided to act. That is what, when it says God remembers, he remembers his covenant, he remembers a promise that he had made. It is not that he had forgotten it. He has now decided it is time to act on it. It is now time for him to do what he needs to do and what he wants to do to fulfill that covenant and to fulfill that promise. So in light of all of those verses where all of that is written in there together, it's all connected. God hears our cries. God sees what we're going through. And there may be times that we feel like he is absent and he is not seeing and he is not hearing us and he is not doing anything. Why? We must remember that there is a time and a place, and he will act and he will move and he will fulfill his promises to us. To me, it's enough to know that he hears me, he sees me, and he knows me. He knows what I'm going through. He knows what my situation is like. He knows the pain I carry. He knows all about it. And he will act because he is faithful to his promises and to his covenant. We have a new covenant with him now that was different than the covenant he had set up with them. And that covenant was that he would be a part of our lives and that we would be right with him and we would be able to be in one with him and remain in him. And so I just wanted to share that with you today. I wanted you the next time, in fact, I don't know how many times since I've read this, that I thought, God, you see, you hear, you know. You are not absent from me. You remember me, and you know what you are doing in my life, and you will bring that to fulfillment. And I just need to trust you. And that has been so helpful to know that he loves me that much. And I pray that for you, that you will understand that he has heard your cries. He sees your pain. He knows what you're going through. But he also knows that it's time to act, when it's time to act. And he knows what you need. He will be there for you. Have a good day.